Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope everybody's having a great day and staying safe during these crazy times. I just wanted to make this video about my top 10 favorite bass players. Now, there is no top 10 official list, despite what some boomers or four-string purists might try to tell you. This is just a matter of opinion. This is just my list of guys who have influenced me over the years and have really helped to shape my sound personally. Before I get into the list, though, I just want to say that to me, the mark of a great bass player is it's not someone who necessarily plays simple or complex bass lines. It's about making memorable bass lines. It's about having that earworm quality to your bass playing that just sticks in people's heads and makes people groove and makes people like me want to, when I hear stuff like that, I go, I want to learn that bass line right now. So, without further ado, let's get into this list. And by the way, this is in no particular order. So, first off, we have Andy Rourke of the Smiths. Andy Rourke has a very bright and distinct tone to his playing, and he has a very bouncy style, which just fits the songs perfectly. And it's funny because a lot of the Smiths material, lyric-wise, is very sad and kind of crestfallen, forlorn, and emo, but the playing is often uplifting and very happy. And Andy Rourke hits that right on the nose squarely. Um, I don't know if it was This Charming Man or William, It Was Really Nothing, probably, that I heard first, but both of them have amazing bass tracks to them. And really, I can't think of a Smith song that doesn't have a bass line that makes me raise my eyebrows and want to learn it and dance. And it just always fits perfectly. And I don't know why, but I don't usually see Andy Rourke's name on a lot of, best bass players list. I don't know why that is, because the dude has crazy chops. All right, moving on to the next one, we have Dan Briggs of Between the Buried and Me. Whew, this guy is insane. I first got into Between the Buried and Me when Colors came out. I didn't really listen to a lot of metal at the time, except for like some Metallica and stuff like that. But this album and this band got me into the more progressive side of metal, which I'm still to this day obsessed with. Um, but the bass playing throughout, on all the albums, but especially on Colors, is just so clear and warm, which you don't really hear in a lot of metal. And I don't know if it's the settings Dan uses or just his technique with his fingers or pick or whatever he uses, or if it's just the fact that he uses Spectre basses, I believe. But he's got this, to me, he has perfect tone, in my opinion. Perfect bass tone. It's deep, it's warm, but it has a growl to it, which fits perfectly. And I mean, the whole album of Colors is just insane. But by the time I got to Viridian, I was not ready for Viridian. I was not ready for the bass playing on that. And the dude is just, he's crazy good. And he's a huge influence on me, especially when it comes to the heavier side of things. All right, moving on. Number 3, we have Thundercat. Thundercat he played with Suicidal Tendencies, I believe. He's played with all kinds of groups, but he's collaborated a lot with Flying Lotus, which is where I first heard him. But he also has a pretty extensive and impressive solo career himself. Um, I first heard his bass playing on Flying Lotus's album Cosmogramma, which is a great album in its own right. But I think it was like the second track. It just there's these flurries of bass notes just thrown at you and throughout the whole album, and I was just blown away. I had to find out who it was, and I did pretty much immediately. And Thundercat, I love his style. I love the fact that he uses a six string like myself primarily, although he's 300 times better than me, obviously. But he uses these gigantic hollow body Ibanez custom basses, and he's obsessed with anime like myself, obviously. And yeah, man, the dude is just seriously good, just ridiculously good. All right, moving on. We have, speaking of Metallica earlier, Cliff Burton. Yeah, some of these names are going to be obvious. I mean, come on, Cliff Burton. I don't even have to say anything about him. In fact, I'm just going to move on. No, I'm just kidding. Cliff Burton is the original bassist of Metallica, who died tragically in a tour bus accident. Um, and he was taken away from us way too soon because, to me, and this isn't to discredit any of the other amazing bass players that Metallica's had over the years, but Metallica was never the same without Cliff, and that's just a fact that I believe in. He's one of those bass players that you hear and you go, wait a minute, that's bass? That's bass being played right now? because the guy used effects, he used all kinds of stuff, and he had a very spidery, hand technique that he used, which was very strange to watch. But the guy was just off the wall incredible and hugely influential. Like I said, I listened to Metallica and stuff like that before I got into the more progressive sides of metal. So this guy and this kind of playing was, it shocked me, as a 15, 16-year-old kid when I first started. All right, so next up we got Sting, another pretty obvious one, but come on, who doesn't love the Police? They're my favorite three-piece band personally, and when you're in a three-piece band, you have to fill your position to the fullest capacity, and Sting, all of them, but especially Sting, really does that to aces. Not only does he play really catchy, relatively simple bass lines, but he sings too, which is extremely hard to do. I'm not someone who can play and sing at the same time unless I'm literally playing the exact, way that I'm singing or playing. But he'll play some stuff that seems off time to what he's singing, and I don't know how he does it. To this day, I have no idea how he does it. But yeah, Sting, the Police, great bass line, great rhythm section. Stuart Copeland's one of my favorite drummers, and everybody in the band is great. But Sting, I mean, he's got to be on this list for me. All right, next up we got Stanley Clarke. Stanley Clarke is the reason that I play bass. When I was first starting to play bass, I saw this record in Goodwill. I was in Goodwill with like my mom and my little brother. I saw this record from far away, and I thought it was Jimi Hendrix because I see this guy with an afro and a guitar. It's Jimi Hendrix. I don't make the rules. Well, when I get up close to it, it's Stanley. Who's Stanley Clarke? And I notice he has a bass, not a guitar. And I'm into bass because I'm just getting into the instrument. I'm like, whoa, So it was a complete blind buy for me. It was Goodwill, so it was like maybe $1. And I took it home, and I had a record player that my uncle gave me, and I listened to it. And again, similar to Cliff Burton, but more extreme, I would hear things and I would go, wait a minute, that's the bass playing that part. Holy shit. And this guy, I don't really think I can say anything that hasn't been said about Stanley Clarke. He is up there with Victor Wooten and Marcus Miller, all the greatest bass players you can think of. He's in that, he's on Mount Olympus for sure. I could do a video just talking about Stanley Clarke's influence, but I'm gonna keep moving on. So the next name on the list is Geezer Butler of Black Sabbath. Yeah, I copied and stole a lot of his bass lines back in the day. When I was getting into metal and that early heavy kind of music, and I like his style because another thing, I should have said this at the beginning, but another thing I like about a bass player is when I can hear the bass on the song. And all these guys, you can hear all their bass lines clear as a bell. Geezer Butler is definitely there. His bass playing is very bluesy, but also very hard, very, very gritty. And he had some great catchy bass lines that influenced my early playing. And he's just awesome. It's fucking Geezer Butler. It's Sabbath. How do you not like that? All right, next on the list, Freddie Washington. Freddie Washington is a session bassist who has played with everyone from, God, who knows? He's played with Michael Jackson. He's played with so many people I can't even think of their names right now. But he's most known for the "Forget Me Nots" bass line by Patrice Rushen. Yeah, that bass line. He invented that bass line. He also played extensively with Anita Baker, and a lot of her best bass line is from him. I mean, Freddie Washington is so, and it could be just because he's a session bassist, so a lot of them are underrated, but he is really underrated for the amount of influence he's had in songs and on the instrument that he plays. I believe that the last I heard about him, he's touring with Steely Dan. I don't know if that's current information, but he's played with everybody. I mean, just everyone. All right, moving on. We got Tim Comerford, I don't know how to say it. Timmy C of Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave. I think he plays with Prophets of Rage too now. I don't know. I don't listen to that. But anyway, Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave, bassist Tim Comerford. Yeah, man, he's one of those guys that can have simple bass lines, and then he has bass lines with some chords thrown in. He serves the song songs really well, and he's just got a great. He just knows how to write a good, catchy bass line that also makes you want to bang your head. Um, he's right up my alley. Like he's just knows what he's doing, and he fits every song perfectly. In every band he's been in, he fits perfectly. Um, yeah, a lot of these guys are in bands that were hugely influential to me, which is how I got to know who the bass player was. And you know, it's a chicken egg thing where was it the bass playing that got me into it, or was it the band that got me into the bass playing? I don't know, but Tim Comerford is just he's great. I love the guy. All right, and last but not least is Rob Morey of Fallujah. This guy's so underrated, man. Fallujah is in my top five metal bands of all time, and because I'm into that progressive metal thing. But my biggest problem with a lot of progressive metal is, or just metal in general, is that it goes too much to one extreme or the other. Fallujah is a band of extreme balance. They are beautiful. They're a beautiful playing band. A lot of that can be attributed to Scott Carstairs. I think that's how you say his name, their guitar player, who I could just do a whole video about him because he is one of my top five. Forget about top 10. He's one of my top five guitar players. But this is a bass channel. We're going to stick to playing bass. Rob Morey is the bassist of Fallujah and has been since, I believe, 2009. Look, if you can keep up with all the other music in this band, then you're a great bass player. And I've watched videos of him, of bass playthroughs, and it's jaw-dropping. The guy is way too underrated and unsung. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe I haven't, subscribed to enough metal pages or metal magazines, but the dude should be talked about a lot more than he is, in my opinion. Um, yeah, Rob Morey, man. Say his name. Listen to his playing. Listen to Fallujah. Listen to all these guys. So, anyway, without further ado, that's my top 10 list. What did you think? Did you think I missed any? I'm sure some people will, of course. And again, I'll probably do a revised, updated top 10 list, or maybe top 10, like an additional list. Maybe I should have just done a top 20. But anyway, I didn't. I hope y'all have a good day again, and stay safe out there, man. It is way too wild out there. Be smart and keep playing bass. I love y'all. Bye.